Hi there and welcome to our next video on fractions, decimals and percentages. In this video we're going to be looking at what fractions, decimals and percentages are, and we're going to look at converting fractions to decimals, decimals to fractions, and then converting them both into percentages. So let's get started. First of all, we have this table over here which shows us fractions, decimals and percentages. It shows you what a number is as a fraction, what it is as a decimal, and what it is as a percentage. And these are some of the numbers that you need to know about. So for example, 1/5 is equivalent to 0.2, which is equivalent to 20%. 9/4 are equivalent to 2.25, which is equivalent to 225%. So this is a table which you might want to know. Now, when we're converting fractions as decimals, so when we're converting it from a fraction to a decimal, we always need to use a rule called the divide sign. So, for example, if we had 3/5 as a fraction and we wanted to know that as a decimal, how would we do that? So, this divide sign in the middle is, you have to divide it, so you need to divide 3 by 5, so it will look something like this: 3 divided by 5. How would we do that? Well, we do that the normal way: 3 divided by 5. 5 goes into 3 0 times. Now we put on a decimal point and we add a 0 over here. Now we carry the 3 over. 5 goes into 30 6 times, with a remainder of 0. So our decimal would be 0.6. 3/5 is equivalent to 0.6. Another example might be 7/8. If we wanted to find out what it is, this is the divide sign over here. So we would end up doing 7 divided by 8. So let's write that down. 7 divided by 8. 8 goes into 7 0 times. We put a decimal point there and we add a 0 over here. We carry the 7 over. 8 goes into 78 times, with a remainder of 6. We keep adding zeros until we get to a number. If you notice that the number is reoccurring, then you can just stop right there. So 8 goes into 67 times, with a remainder of 4, and 8 goes into 45 times. So we know that 7/8 as a decimal would be 0.875. Now, when we're going from decimals to fractions, what we would do is we would put it as a fraction out of the number of decimal places it's gone. For example, if we had 0.6, this is the units column, this is the decimal point, and this is the tenths column. So this is known as 6/10. Now we've got it as a fraction out of 10. We can simplify it, so we divide both the numerator and the denominator by 2. That will give us 3/5. So 0.6 is equivalent to 3/5. Another example might be 0.75. 0.75, we've got the units here, the decimal point, the tenths and the hundredths. It goes until the hundredths column, so 100 will be the denominator, and we have 75. So it's 75 out of a possible 100. Now we can simplify that and eventually we would get 3/4. So 0.75 would be equivalent to 3/4. Okay, now whatever we have, how do we turn it to percentages? So let's go back to the table that we looked at before. 1/5 to percentage is 20%. So we start off from a fraction, we turn it into a decimal, and then we turn it into a percentage. Or if you have a fraction which is easier to get to 100 as the denominator, you can use that way. So first I'll show you this way. So if I had 1/5, for example, we convert that into a decimal by doing 1 divided by 5, which would get you 0.2. From a decimal to a percentage, all we would do is multiply it by 100. So it would get us 20%. Now, if you were to go from fraction to percentage directly, then you would do it this way. We have 1/5 over here. Well, we need to get to something with the denominator 100, because percent means 100, so the denominator for percentage is always 100. So from 5 we need to get to 100. You would times it by 20, and whatever you do to the denominator, you do to the numerator. So you would times this by 20 as well. It will get you 20 hundredths, and then if you simplify that, you will get back to 1/5. But 20 over 100 would be equivalent to 20%. In the description box below, there's a link to a quiz which you can have a go at. In our next video, we're going to be having a look at some exam questions related to fractions, decimals, and percentages. But for now, that is it for this video. Thanks for watching. I hope you liked it. And one last thing, please subscribe, hit the like button and the notification bell.